Picture this, a glittering gala in Charlotte, where my family's empire is the talk of the night. Crystal chandeliers cast halos over tailored suits and sequined gowns. Everyone's raising glasses, toasting to a legacy they think they know. Then my sister, Vanessa, steps into the spotlight. Her smile is sharp, her voice sweeter than the champagne. She lifts her glass, locks eyes with me, and declares to 200 guests that I'm a nobody, a shadow who's never amounted to anything. Laughter ripples through the crowd, smug and careless, like wildfire catching dry grass. My mother looks away, my family stays silent. They think I'm just the sister who shows up, who takes the insults and fades back into the background. But they're wrong. What they don't know, what Vanessa doesn't know, is that I hold the keys to the empire they're celebrating. I own 51% of Coleman Chic, the fashion dynasty they're toasting. Tonight, I'm not here to play the victim. I'm here to rewrite the story. Stick with me, because this isn't just a family feud, it's the moment I take back my name. Every summer, I drive to the Coleman family reunion in Charlotte, North Carolina, knowing exactly what's waiting for me. It's not warmth or welcome, it's a role I've played for years, the invisible sister in a family obsessed with appearances. The mansion looms ahead, all white columns and manicured lawns, a stage for my sister Vanessa's endless performance. She's the star, the golden child who can do no wrong. Me? I'm Anna Coleman, the one they forget to count until I walk through the door. My modest sedan looks out of place next to Vanessa's sleek Bentley, a reminder of how I've always been overshadowed. But what they don't see is the weight I carry, the truth about the empire they flaunt. Growing up, I learned early that Vanessa's light was meant to outshine mine. I remember a school project when I was 12, a science fair model I spent weeks perfecting. Vanessa swooped in, presented it as hers, and took home the ribbon. Mom clapped, Dad beamed, and I stood in the back, swallowing the sting. That moment wasn't just a one-off, it was a blueprint for our lives. Vanessa claimed the spotlight, and I was left picking up the pieces, unnoticed. By high school, I stopped fighting for credit. It was easier to let her win, to let the family believe she was the genius. But deep down, I knew my worth, even if they didn't. Fast forward to now, and nothing's changed. The Coleman Chic fashion empire is the talk of Charlotte, a dazzling brand built on luxury and ambition. Vanessa's face is plastered on every billboard, her name synonymous with success. She's the CEO, the visionary, the one who gets invited to speak at galas and charm investors. But what nobody talks about is how I kept the company alive. When the books were bleeding red 5 years ago, I worked nights, crunching numbers, securing loans, and convincing banks to give us a chance. I didn't do it for glory, I did it because it was ours, a legacy my father poured his heart into before he passed. Yet, at every board meeting, my contributions are buried, my name left off the press releases. This reunion, like every year, is a performance. The mansion's polished floors gleam under chandeliers, and the air hums with forced cheer. My mother, Evelyn, greets me with a tight smile, her eyes already darting to Vanessa, who's holding court in the living room. Anna, you made it, she says, like it's a surprise I bothered to show. Vanessa calls out, her voice dripping with mock surprise, well, look who's here. Still keeping the world spinning behind the scenes, Anna? The room chuckles, and I feel that familiar knot in my chest, the one that's been there since I was a kid. I set down the bottle of wine I brought, hoping it might earn me a nod, but it swept away without a glance. I try to help in the kitchen, but Evelyn's already fussing over Vanessa's latest story, a pitch she landed with a Chicago retailer. I pick up a tray of appetizers, hoping to be useful, but even that feels like a consolation prize. At dinner, I'm seated at the far end, squeezed between a sideboard and the wall, the spot reserved for someone who doesn't quite belong. Vanessa dominates the conversation, her laugh loud enough to drown out the clink of silverware. She talks about her latest triumph, a new line launching next month, and everyone hangs on her every word. I open my mouth to share my own work, a financial strategy that saved us millions, but Vanessa cuts in, her smile sharp. Oh, Anna's always busy with her numbers. Not everyone's cut out for the big stage. The laughter that follows is soft but cuts deep. Evelyn looks at her plate, avoiding my gaze. Nobody defends me. Nobody asks what I meant to say. The knot in my chest tightens, but I don't react. I sip my wine, letting the moment pass, because I've learned that fighting back at this table never works. But something's different this time. As I sit there, watching Vanessa bask in her glory, I feel a shift. Not anger, not sadness, but a quiet resolve. They think they know my story. They think I'm just the sister who shows up, who takes the jabs and fades away. But they're about to learn how wrong they are. This reunion isn't the end of my silence, it's the beginning of my reckoning. Dinner at the Coleman family reunion is a theater of pretense, and I'm cast as the unseen extra. The long mahogany table gleams under candlelight, set with china nobody's allowed to chip. My sister Vanessa sits at the head, her laughter a melody everyone's tuned to. I'm at the far end, wedged between a sideboard and the wall, where the light barely reaches. It's a seat for someone who doesn't matter, and I've been here every year, swallowing the slight. Tonight, though, the air feels heavier, like a storm's brewing beneath the polished smiles. I tried to join the conversation, mentioning a deal I closed for Coleman Chic, but Vanessa's voice cuts through like a blade. "Oh, Anna's still finding herself," she says, her smile sharp as glass. "Some people are just better watching from the sidelines, right?" The words land like a slap, and the table erupts in soft chuckles. My mother, Evelyn, glances at her plate, her fork still. Nobody corrects Vanessa. Nobody looks my way. The silence is louder than the laughter, and it carves a hollow space in my chest. I take a sip of wine, the bitterness mirroring the moment. Vanessa leans forward, her eyes glinting with something crueler than mischief. She's not just dismissing me, she's erasing me, painting me as the sister who never measures up. The family plays along, their nods and smiles a chorus of agreement. Uncle James murmurs about Vanessa's latest triumph, a new store opening in Miami, and Aunt Clara claps like it's a Broadway show. I try again, my voice steady, mentioning the financial strategy one crafted to secure that expansion. But Vanessa interrupts, her tone dripping with condescension. "Anna and her spreadsheets," she laughs. "It's cute how you think that's the real work." The laughter swells, not loud, but sharp enough to sting. Evelyn's eyes flicker to me for a moment, then drop. I'm invisible again, my contributions reduced to a punchline. The knot in my stomach tightens, but I don't flinch. I've learned to wear this mask, to let the barbs slide off, but each one leaves a mark. As dinner winds down, Vanessa takes charge, delegating cleanup like a queen issuing decrees. She slides a stack of crystal wine glasses toward me, her voice syrupy. "Be a dear, Anna, and scrub these. You're so good at the little things." The room chuckles again, the sound grating against my skin. I carry the glasses to the sink, the weight of them heavier than it should be. Standing there, scrubbing under the harsh kitchen lights, I'm 15 again, back when Vanessa would take credit for my ideas, when Evelyn would pat her head and ignore my tears. The water's hot, but my hands are steady. I'm not breaking, not yet. Then, as I rinse the last glass, I overhear Vanessa in the next room, her voice low but clear. "The Chicago deal? All me," she boasts to a cousin. "I closed it single-handedly. Nobody else could have pulled it off." My breath catches. That deal was mine, weeks of negotiations, late nights rewriting contracts, my signature on the dotted line. She's stealing it, just like she stole my science fair ribbon, just like she's stolen every moment I ever earned. I dry my hands, the dish towel trembling slightly. The humiliation isn't new, but this life feels different, bolder, more calculated. Vanessa's not just mocking me, she's rewriting history, claiming my work as her own. The family's laughter echoes in my mind, their silence a betrayal deeper than words. I pour myself another glass of wine and return to the dining room, my face calm but my heart racing. Nobody notices me sit down. They're too busy orbiting Vanessa, hanging on her every word. But something shifts inside me, quiet and unshakable. This isn't about one dinner or one stolen deal. It's about years of being pushed aside, of being the sister who shows up only to be dismissed. I smile, not out of politeness, but because I see it now. They think they know me. They think I'll stay silent, washing their glasses, carrying their secrets. They're wrong. This night isn't the end of my story, it's the spark that lights the fuse. Vanessa's about to learn what happens when you underestimate the shadow. The morning after the reunion, I wake to a quiet apartment, but my mind is anything but still. Vanessa's words from last night loop in my head, her smug claim about the Chicago deal slicing deeper each time. I pour coffee, letting it go cold as I stare out my Charlotte window, the city's skyline sharp against the dawn. That deal wasn't hers, it was mine, built on my sleepless nights and relentless negotiations. But it's not just one lie. It's a pattern, a lifetime of Vanessa stealing my light and my family letting her. I've always swallowed the hurt, but now it's different. This isn't about a single humiliation, it's about them trying to erase me from the story of Coleman Chic, the empire I helped save. I set my mug down, a resolve hardening in my chest. If they want to rewrite history, I'll write it back with the truth. I pull open my desk drawer, fingers brushing a stack of files I've kept for years, not for pride, but for protection. Contracts, emails, board minutes, all timestamped, all undeniable. I find the one I'm looking for, a valuation analysis from 3 years ago, when Coleman Chic was drowning in debt. I stayed up until dawn, restructuring our finances, securing a loan that kept us afloat. My signature is on every page, but my name's nowhere in the press releases. I kept those, too, clippings praising Vanessa as the visionary, while I was reduced to a footnote. Then I see it, a company photo pinned to the fridge, one I hadn't looked at in years. It's from our first store opening, me standing beside Dad, smiling. But in the new version, framed in the office lobby, I'm gone, cropped out like I was never there. My breath catches, not from sadness, but from clarity. They're not just ignoring me, they're erasing me. My phone buzzes, a news alert from a Charlotte business journal. I click, and there's Vanessa's face, beaming under a headline, Coleman Chic's $10 million deal redefines luxury. The article calls her a solo genius, no mention of my months of work securing that contract. My stomach twists, but I don't stop. I dig deeper, pulling up internal emails where I outlined the deal's strategy, every word mine. I find the ownership agreement, the one I signed when I took on 51% of the company to save it from collapse. It's airtight, notarized, a secret I've held close. Vanessa doesn't know. Nobody does. They think I'm just the sister who crunches numbers, not the one who owns the keys to their kingdom. Later that day, I meet Michael, my mentor, at a quiet cafe downtown. He's been with Coleman Chic since the start, one of the few who saw my work when others didn't. Over coffee, he leans in, voice low. Vanessa's planning to sell a chunk of shares to a private investor, he says. No board approval, no oversight. If she pulls it off, the company's future is at risk. I freeze, the weight of his words sinking in. This isn't just about credit, she's gambling with the legacy I fought for. Michael slides me a folder, his eyes steady. You've got the power to stop her, Anna. Use it. I nod, my mind racing. Back home, I open the folder, finding board communications Vanessa tried to bury. It's all there, her plan to sideline me, to sell what's mine. I sit at my desk, the documents spread out like a map of betrayal. Each one is a piece of the truth they thought I'd never claim. I'm not angry anymore, I'm focused, every move deliberate. I create a new folder on my laptop, labeled Reckoning, and start scanning everything, contracts, emails, even the cropped photo. I back it all up to an encrypted drive, my hands steady. This isn't about revenge, it's about correction. Vanessa's built her throne on my work, but I'm done being the shadow. They've taken my name out of their story, but I'm about to write it back in bold. The gala's coming, their big celebration of Coleman Chic's decade of glory. They think it's Vanessa's moment. They're wrong. It's mine. The night of Coleman Chic's 10th anniversary gala feels like a reckoning dressed in black tie. Charlotte's skyline glitters beyond the hotel rooftop, but inside, the air hums with anticipation. Investors, influencers, and industry giants swirl around me, their champagne flutes catching the light of crystal chandeliers. I stand near the back, a shadow in a sleek black suit, unnoticed but not unprepared. My leather folder, heavy with truth, rests in my hands. Vanessa's face is everywhere, on billboards, digital screens, her name glowing in gold script. This is her stage, her empire, or so they think. I've spent years in the background, my contributions buried, my name erased. Tonight, that ends. I'm not here to beg for a seat at their table, I'm here to claim the one I built. The lights dim, and Vanessa glides onto the stage, radiant in a shimmering gown. Her voice is honeyed, commanding, as she spins a tale of Coleman Chic's rise. The crowd hangs on her every word, applauding her vision, her grit. Then she pauses, her smile widening, and delivers a final thank you. To our junior strategist, Lily Carter, for reshaping our future, she says, gesturing to a nervous employee in the front row. The applause roars, but my blood runs cold. Lily's work? That was mine, every slide, every strategy, painstakingly crafted over months. I mentored Lily, walked her through pitches, fixed her mistakes. Now Vanessa's handing her my legacy, and the room eats it up. My fingers tighten around the folder, the weight of its pages grounding me. This isn't just theft, it's a declaration that I don't exist. I move before I can second-guess myself, my heels sharp against the marble floor. The crowd murmurs as I walk down the center aisle, no spotlight, no invitation, just purpose. Whispers ripple, someone says my name, uncertain. The MC hesitates, but Michael, my mentor, signals him to stay put from the sidelines. I reach the podium, place my folder down with deliberate care, and face the sea of faces. Board members shift in their seats, investors raise eyebrows. Vanessa's smile freezes, a crack in her perfect mask. I don't need a microphone to be heard, not anymore. You're celebrating a legacy tonight, I begin, my voice steady, cutting through the hush. But you've been told half the story. 2 years ago, Coleman Chic was 72 hours from bankruptcy. That wasn't saved by magic. It was me. The room goes still, the kind of silence that swallows sound. I open the folder, revealing contracts, notarized and undeniable. I refinanced the debt. I secured the contracts. And I acquired a controlling interest. I pause, letting the words land. I own 51% of this company. A gasp ripples through the crowd. Somewhere, a glass shatters. Vanessa's face is a study in control, but her eyes betray her, wide, unblinking. I hold her gaze, not with anger, but with the weight of years unspoken. You toasted a vision tonight, I say, my voice rising just enough. Here's the truth, it's mine. The contracts lie open on the podium, their signatures gleaming under the stage lights. I don't need to say more, the truth speaks for itself. A board member clears his throat, his voice shaky. Ms. Coleman, this is highly irregular. Can you clarify? I cut him off, my tone calm but unyielding. Check the signatures. They're mine. Dated, notarized, and filed. If you have questions, my legal counsel's ready. The room feels electric, every eye on me. Vanessa's PR assistant grips her arm, whispering frantically, but she doesn't move. She can't. I've shifted the narrative, and there's no going back. I step away from the podium, leaving the contracts behind. Questions will come tomorrow, board meetings, headlines, maybe lawsuits. But tonight, I've done what I came to do. I walk toward the exit, the crowd parting like a sea. The cold night air hits me as I step outside, clean and honest, like something earned. This isn't about revenge, it's about correction. Vanessa built her throne on my work, but I'm not here to take her crown. I'm here to take back my name. The gala continues behind me, but it's different now. They'll whisper about this for years, the night the shadow stepped into the light. And I'm just getting started. The gala's echoes fade, and Charlotte's morning light feels like a quiet promise. For the first time in years, I wake to silence, not the kind that buries you, but the kind that sets you free. No frantic emails, no breaking news alerts, just a single message in my inbox. The subject line is simple: confirmation of executive authority, pending board ratification. It's not a headline or a trophy, but it's everything. It means I'm no longer a shadow in Coleman Chic story. I didn't scream to be heard, I stood firm until the room had no choice but to listen. The board's decision comes swiftly. They name me chair of oversight, a role of quiet power, while Vanessa steps back, her statement citing personal clarity. It's polished, vague, but I know the truth. So does she. This isn't a retreat, it's a reckoning she can't spin. I drive to my mother's house that evening, the Charlotte suburbs soft under dusk. Evelyn opens the door, her face softer than I remember, the sharp edges worn down by time or guilt. She doesn't apologize, doesn't mention the contracts she once dismissed or the years she let Vanessa's star outshine mine. Instead, she walks to a bookshelf, her hands trembling slightly, and places a small frame in an empty spot. It's a photo from my college graduation, my smile bright despite the heat, my eyes squinting at a future I couldn't yet see. She'd claimed it was lost in a move. I never believed her, but I don't call it out now. Some truths don't need words, they just need to be returned, quietly, to where they belong. I nod, take the tea she offers, and leave without a fight. For once, the silence between us feels like understanding, not erasure. The next morning, I visit my father's grave, the Charlotte cemetery hushed under a brisk wind. The folder of documents, now frayed from countless meetings, sits in my hands. It's been my shield, my proof, but today it feels lighter. I stand before his headstone, remembering the gala's final moment, not the gasps or the shattered glass, but Michael's nod from the sidelines, so subtle I could have missed it. He saw me, even when I doubted myself. Later, at home, I plug in an old hard drive, its hum like a ghost stirring. I find a voicemail from Dad, buried in forgotten folders, his voice rough but clear. If they don't thank you in time, don't wait. The truth has its own clock, Anna. You're the reason this family stands. The words hit like a release, not of tears, but of a burden I'd carried too long. I'm not fighting for his approval anymore, I have it. Back at Coleman Chic, I take a small but deliberate step. I meet with a young employee, Sarah, whose ideas remind me of my own, bright, overlooked. I guide her through a pitch, ensuring her name stays on it. Nobody will erase her like they tried to erase me. The office feels different now, my title on the website no longer buried under other contributors. I decline the CEO role, not because I can't lead, but because I don't need the spotlight. Oversight is power without performance, influence without applause. It's enough. That night, I write in my journal, let them keep the spotlight. I'll hold the foundation. The words feel earned, like a vow I've finally kept. As I walk past the old family estate, its windows glowing yellow, I see Vanessa inside, alone at the kitchen table. Her arms are crossed, her gaze fixed on something distant, a letter, maybe, or just regret. I don't stop or wave. There's no tearful reconciliation, no cinematic closure. I keep walking, my steps lighter, not because I'm whole, but because I'm no longer carrying their silence. This journey wasn't about winning, it was about reclaiming what was mine. If you've ever been underestimated, know this: your worth doesn't need a stage, just your resolve. I didn't rewrite their story, I wrote my own. And now, as the board prepares to meet, I'm ready to shape what comes next, not as a shadow, but as the one who holds the pen. Stepping away from the gala, I didn't just leave behind a room of stunned faces, I left behind the version of myself that waited for permission to be seen. Charlotte's streets feel different now, not because the city's changed, but because I have. The weight of years spent in Vanessa's shadow, of my family's silence, of being erased from Coleman Chic's story, it's gone. I didn't need their applause or their spotlight to know my worth. I needed to stand in my truth, to hold the foundation of an empire I saved, and to say, without apology, this is mine. That night, when I revealed I owned 51% of the company, wasn't about revenge. It was about correction, about rewriting a narrative that tried to write me out. And in that moment, I learned something profound: your value doesn't depend on who claps for you. It depends on you believing in it, fiercely, even when the room stays quiet. This journey taught me that silence, when chosen, isn't weakness, it's strategy. For years, I let Vanessa's barbs and my family's dismissal define me, thinking if I worked harder, stayed quieter, they'd finally see me. But worth isn't earned through others' approval, it's claimed. I could have stayed the invisible sister, washing dishes, swallowing slights, but I chose to build my own table. That's the lesson I carry now, and it's one I want to share with you. If you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or pushed to the margins of your own story, hear this: you don't need a seat at their table. Build your own. Craft it with your truth, your work, your resilience. It doesn't have to be loud or flashy. It just has to be yours. And when you stand on that foundation, no one can take it away, not a sister, not a family, not a world that tries to dim your light. Think about your own life. Have you ever been made to feel small, like your contributions didn't matter? Maybe it was a colleague who stole your idea, a friend who dismissed your dreams, or a family who never saw your strength. Those moments hurt, but they don't define you. What defines you is what you do next. I found my power in documents and determination, in speaking my truth at a gala that wasn't meant for me. Your power might look different: a conversation you finally have, a project you finish, a boundary you set. Whatever it is, own it. Celebrate it. Don't wait for someone else to hand you the microphone. Pick it up yourself, and don't be afraid to speak. So here's my challenge to you: take one step this week to honor your worth. Maybe it's sharing a goal you've kept quiet, standing up to someone who's crossed a line, or simply writing down something you're proud of. Post it online with the hashtag #OwnYourTable, and let's build a community of people who refuse to be erased. Your story matters, not because someone else validates it, but because it's yours. I want to hear it. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever had to rewrite your own ending? What did it feel like to stand in your truth? Or just share where you're watching from. Your voice belongs here, whether it's a whisper or a shout. If this story stirred something in you, if it made you feel seen or sparked a fire to claim your own space, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel for more stories that dig deep, that peel back the layers of what it means to fight for yourself. We're building a space for triumphs, for reckonings, for moments when the underdog steps into the light. And if this wasn't your thing, that's okay, tell me why in the comments. Your perspective matters, too. I used to think I needed everyone to believe in me, but I was wrong. I only needed one person, me. And maybe a quiet nod from someone who saw me all along, like my father's voice on that old voicemail, reminding me the truth has its own clock. Now it's your turn. What's the table you're building? Who's going to sit at it? Let's keep this conversation going, because when we own our stories, we change the world, one truth at a time.